Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new on my channel, then welcome. Today's video is another makeup tutorial. I know I did a bunch of them in a row last year right before the New Year's Eve, and I said that I wouldn't do tutorials for a while, but because I got more requests as I went along, I really didn't want to leave you guys hanging if you really wanted to see the tutorials on how I created some of the looks that I was wearing in my videos. I really didn't want to make you wait, so that's why I am going to do the tutorial requests in a row as well. For those of you who are maybe getting sick of the tutorials, I'm sorry, and I hope that you won't mind too much and that you will bear with me, because I have some other video ideas as well that I really want to do, and I hope that you will stick with me to see what those are. Again, I want to take a moment and say thank you to all the people who have made requests, because you are making my life so much easier, seriously. As I said, today's video is another one of the requests, and this is actually the one that I was supposed to do instead of the New Year's Eve glam tutorial. This is the look that I was wearing in my how to apply false eyelashes video. This is a palette that I was talking about in my previous video as well, which was about the yearly favorites, and I mentioned that I don't really use this palette on my channel all that often, and this look actually was created with this palette. So yeah, I'm happy to show you guys something else instead of the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette. You guys know how I feel about the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette. You know that I love it and I swear by it, but I really felt that I need to bring in some other palettes as well, and since this is another one of my huge favorites, it's perfect. So if you want to see how to get this super easy, really quick makeup look, then just keep on watching. I have already moisturized my face, but because my skin was feeling extra dry that day, I used some MAC Fix Plus just to give some extra moisture and hydration before going in with some makeup. And I'm taking NARS's Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Vanilla, running that all over my eyelids. You guys know that it is my current favorite eye primer. And once the eyelids are covered, I'm taking Catrice's Camouflage Cream Concealer in the Wake Up Effect and running that underneath my eyes to cover up those dark circles. And then to set down the primer, I'm taking Bourjois Healthy Balance Unifying Powder and just setting down the eyelids. After that, I'm going in with primer, and I'm taking Catrice's Prime and Fine Pore-Refining Anti-Shine Base, and I'm using that all over my face because it's a stunning primer. It is not drying, but it erases the pores and it makes everything look so seamless, so I love it. And then I was moving on to the eyes. I'm taking Violet Voss and Laura Lee palette today, and the first shade is Bridges, which I am running in the outer V of my eye and also in the crease, and I'm just blending everything, making sure that it is a nice wash of color, not too intense, and that we have some warmth before going in with the darker shades. And I'm focusing this mainly in the outer V, and once I have less product left on the brush, as always, I'm also dragging it in the crease. Next up, I'm taking the shade Bubs on a slightly more dense and condensed brush, and I'm running that in a diagonal kind of V shape again. You guys already know that I love to do this because it really elongates the eye and it gives this nice cat eye effect, which I think looks so nice and feminine. And once I had the color roughly laid down, I took the fluffy end of the brush again and just ran over the edges to make sure everything was blended. And then I took the shade Bridges one more time and ran over the edges because that shade got lost a bit with all the blending and adding the new color. I'm moving on to the main eyelid shade, which is Yoshi, and I'm packing it on with a flat shader brush, putting it on all of the places where we didn't have eyeshadow, and I'm also blending it somewhat in the darker Bubs shade that we have going on in the outer V, just making sure that everything blends into each other nicely. And then, I'm sorry, this is really blurry and out of focus, but I didn't notice. I'm taking the fluffy end of the brush again and just mushing everything together one more time. And then I went in with the shade Bubs again with a more dense brush, and I'm really packing on to intensify the color even more. And again, taking the shade Bridges and going over the whole crease area just to make sure everything is as seamless as it possibly could be. I applied some mascara and some falsies off camera, and I also tight lined. For the mascara, I used L'Oreal Voluminous Paradise. For the falsies, I used Starlet from House of Lashes, and for tight lining, I used Anastasia Beverly Hills Waterproof Cream Color in the shade Jet. And now you can see me doing a little dance because the song was really good, and I was shaking up the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation, which I'm wearing today. It's in the shade Bone, and if you saw my video about my foundation collections, then you know that I don't really wear this foundation all that often because I'm not particularly a fan of it anymore. It used to be my holy grail, but I don't really reach for it all that often because I just think it's way too heavy. So that's why I also went in with the Beauty Blender. And another thing, it's a bit of a hassle to apply because there's no pump and you just have to dab it all over the face in sections, because otherwise if you go in and do the whole face at once, it's going to dry down and it'll be impossible to blend out. Now I'm moving on to concealer, and I'm of course taking Tarte Shape Tape in light neutral, and I'm drawing these kind of rectangular shapes underneath my eyes, and I'm putting some around my nose, on my chin, and down the bridge of my nose. I haven't really put concealer on my forehead anymore because I just think it cakes up too much product and it gets creasy, and I really don't like it anymore. So I've just avoided doing that, and I like it so much more. And once the concealer was done, I moved on to brows, which I did off camera because it's really not that interesting. And I used Catrice's Eyebrow Stylist in Don't Let Me Brown and L'Oreal's Brow Artist Plumper in the shade medium/dark. I moved on to setting underneath the eyes. I'm using RCMA No Color Powder as usual, but as you can see, I took way too much powder, and I just tried to even out the powder underneath both of my eyes. So I was really blending in the powder as well as I could. I really didn't want to bake, I just wanted to set everything in place. And then I'm taking Wet n Wild Color Icon Kohl Eyeliner in Prose and Bronze, and I'm using that in my waterline. And then going back in the shade Bridges, I am running that shade all over my lower lash line, making sure it's nice and smoky. And then taking the shade Bubs again and running that very close to my lash line and keeping it in the outer third of my lower lash line. And then taking the fluffy end of the brush again and just blending over everything. I'm highlighting my brow bone and inner corners, and for the brow bone I use the shade Basic, and for the inner corners I use the shade Sugar. It's time to highlight, and I'm using Urban Decay's Afterglow highlighter in the shade Sin, and I'm highlighting all the usual areas: tops of my cheekbones, down the bridge of my nose, on the cupid's bow, a bit on the chin, and a bit on the forehead above the brows as well. And once I have highlighted, I again took a smaller, fluffier brush and just run over all of the areas that I just highlighted, because I really don't like the highlighter to stand out all too much. I want it to look nice and blend it into the skin. And then I'm bronzing, and of course I cannot get over this bronzer. I'm using Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula, and this is in the shade Bronze as well. And I am bronzing and warming up all of the usual areas: the forehead, the cheeks, slightly down the nose, and on the jawline and neck as well, making sure I have a nice overall glow. I'm taking a blush that I hadn't used in a while as well, and it is the Essence Silky Touch blush in the shade Baby Doll, and I am putting a very small amount on the tops of my cheeks. And last but not the least, I'm taking Givenchy Healthy Glow powder in the shade number 2, because you guys know I love this, I cannot get over this, and this just gave me the beautiful bronzy goddess kind of look. And lastly, all that's left now is lips, and I'm taking Anastasia Beverly Hills lip palette and taking the shade 11 from the palette, and I'm just lining out my lips and filling them in, and that is the look done. So now all that's left to do is set the whole thing in place. I'm first taking MAC's Fix Plus to get rid of that powdery residue, and then taking Milani's Make It Last setting spray to make sure that the look isn't going anywhere. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you also so much for the request. I really hope that it was easy to follow and that you liked the tutorial. And if you enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And that's it from me. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!